Welcome to Sunday Stories. I'm Michael Sanford. Over the next hour, we'll be sharing stories that celebrate the rich history, amazing people, and fascinating places throughout our region and beyond. A lot has changed in the fast food industry in recent years, from the expansion of menu items to include vegan, plant-based burgers, to technology changes in how we order and get our food. And while A&W restaurants certainly have modernized and changed with the times, some franchises still offer a connection to the past. For folks nostalgic for an era where classic cars and old-school drive-in car hop service were signs of the times.
It's Thursday night, and for Kim McClenahan, that means motoring his classic 1959 Ford Thunderbird down Lodi Avenue to join his fellow classic car buffs. Their destination? The Lodi A&W Drive-In.
I really enjoy that. People come in every day and want to talk about their memories.
But more than the place, it's the people behind this restaurant that draw the car crowds. Peter Knight owns the Lodi franchise. You might say he, wife Annette, and son Brian are their own burger family.
We take you to Lodi, where it all began for A&W, later on Sunday Stories. First Five California invests in programs and resources that educate parents, caregivers, and teachers about the critical roles they play during a child's first 5 years. We visit a preschool in Rocklin to see how the Talk, Read, Sing program is being implemented to educate its littlest learners.
What is that?
That's a rhyming word.
Is that a rhyming word?
Yeah.
Which words are the rhyming words?
The
Fox and the box. Okay.
Teachers here focus on reading books together with their 24 students, having conversations with open-ended questions, and singing, sometimes making up their own songs.
There were two little birds in the one little tree. Thank you, Peyton. I'm so lonely, I don't want to be.
Growing young minds using words and song, later on Sunday Stories. This week from the Vault, comedian Jack Gallagher takes us inside the Culinary Institute of America to learn tricks of the trade from some of the world's top food industry instructors.
I'm here to see if I can learn some of their secret recipes, so I can impress the guests at my next big dinner party. To get into the continuing education program here, you have to be at the top of your game. Only professional chefs are allowed inside the 15,000 square foot kitchen, where everything looks great and smells delicious.
We'll check in with Jack to see how things panned out ahead on Sunday Stories. Goodwill Industries' mission is to help people overcome challenges, build skills, find jobs, and grow their careers through the power of work. Let's visit Goodwill, Sacramento Valley, Northern Nevada, where revenue generated at the 36 local thrift stores directly pays for services to help people with disadvantages achieve self-sufficiency.
Richard Abruzzi, Asia Jackson, Anthony Galloway, and Counselor Monique Osborne are tackling troubles one tier at a time. Less than a year before this gathering of gratitude, Asia and Anthony were homeless and alone.
I felt alone for a long time and that I wasn't going to get a lot of help.
Today, they have jobs, an apartment, and a life together.
The goodness of Goodwill, later on Sunday Stories. Training new crops of farmers at the California Farm Academy. Meet Mark Winey, Dean of the College of Biological Sciences at UC Davis. Preserving the tradition of Native American basket weaving. A look at sleep disorders that are keeping people awake at night. All you need to make one of these tasty treats is vanilla ice cream and root beer. Started in 1919 with a roadside stand in Lodi, A&W helped to popularize the root beer float in America. Our lead story takes us to where it all began for A&W and introduces us to current franchise owner Peter Knight.
get a lot of high fives and thumbs up on the freeway. People like seeing the old cars out there.
It's Thursday night, and for Kim McClenahan, that means motoring his classic 1959 Ford Thunderbird down Lodi Avenue to join his fellow classic car buffs. Their destination? The Lodi A&W Drive-In. This is where car owners and admirers gather to polish, preen, and participate in shared memories of the 1950s and 60s. What many consider a golden era of automobiles and innocence.
I really enjoy that. People come in every day and want to talk about their memories.
But more than the place, it's the people behind this restaurant that draw the car crowds. Peter Knight owns the Lodi franchise. You might say he, wife Annette, and son Brian are their own burger family. They've hosted these cruise nights each week, April through October, since the 1990s.
And I've lost track how many we've done. I'm figuring 700 or 800 cruise nights in the last 25 years, 30 years.
Root beer's been in Peter's blood since 1973, when he first went to work at a Napa Valley A&W. As an employee, he learned a lot, but Peter wanted more.
You know, I've always felt like I've had an owner's mentality. And I go back to my Boy Scout training, was do your best, always leave a situation better than you found it.
That entrepreneurial spirit eventually led to Peter buying the Napa Valley franchise, and later, this one in Lodi. He soon discovered something special about this town's relationship with root beer.
I really didn't know that A&W started here in Lodi, and I realized I can do something with that.
The year was 1919. World War I had ended. The troops were home. The Great Flu epidemic was over. It was time to celebrate. Roy Allen, already a successful serial entrepreneur, saw an opportunity.
So Stockton, Sacramento, Lodi, all the communities got together, said, let's have this big parade for World War I homecoming vets. Roy Allen, as an entrepreneur, saw that opportunity, set up a booth, had a local pharmacist make a batch of root beer, and he gave it away.
You can see that first root beer stand in the upper right corner of this old photograph of that 1919 parade. That successful giveaway inspired Roy Allen to open a permanent soda shop in downtown Lodi. A plaque on Pine Street marks the spot today. Soon after, he came to Sacramento to launch one of the first food trucks.
He went out and he got a carnival wagon and he took the wheels off of it and put it up on blocks on a city corner. He started selling ice cold root beer on the weekends to people up by the state capitol. The one on the right is from the 50s and the one on the left is from 1985.
In the 1920s, Allen became one of the first to franchise his restaurants. Although he sold A&W in 1950, his legacy lives on with people like Peter, who's become an unofficial historian of the chain, and the owner of probably the world's largest collection of root beer memorabilia.
We've got a 1930s root beer tin. If you open them up, they actually still smell like root beer inside. From the 1950s, it's an old business card, and it says, this ticket is good for one A&W root beer. This here is what a lot of the car hops used to make change.
And then, perhaps his favorite finds, change dispensers and other items used by car hops back when the Lodi A&W moved to this location in 1953. Photos of that simpler time with 5-cent root beers and smiling servers adorn the walls today.
Go ahead and order whenever you're ready.
Peter's restaurant is keeping the car hop tradition alive in a more modern way. Order at the remote speaker, drive up, and they walk your meal out to the car. You'll still pass by the original burger family. Though officially ended as a branding symbol in the 1970s, Peter traveled all over the West and Midwest to find and reunite fiberglass figures of Papa, Mama, Teen, and Baby.
We traveled to Nebraska, Mitchell, Nebraska, and picked up a teen that was basically in somebody's backyard near a cornfield in Nebraska.
If all this nostalgia seems a bit hokey, Peter says it's all part of sustaining the brand. And it's best done by connecting to the community, like capturing the Guinness World Record for the world's largest root beer float. just one of many events raising money for community causes.
Most of the time I wake up in the morning thinking I'm excited about going to work. I'm always trying to figure out what's the next thing, what can I do to make things better.
The many years building the business, the hands-on approach, the long hours and special events, all inspired, Peter says, by Roy Allen's example.
I just passed my 45-year anniversary. You know, I've actually been with A&W longer than the guy who started A&W. I feel like I was handed off the torch, and I feel like I'm running with it, and you know, hopefully I'll hand it off to my son and he'll take it to the next level.
Later, UC Davis Dean Mark Winey shares his passions for science, research, and teaching. But first, if you're interested in learning how to become a farmer, you might want to check out the California Farm Academy in Winters. Their beginning farmer training program offers an immersive educational experience for aspiring farmers.
These rolling acres of pristine and prime farmland in Winters, California are where seeds are being planted to grow farmers for the future of America and the world. Welcome to the farm on Puda Creek,
basket weave a little bit more.
home to the acclaimed California Farm Academy, where future farmers get their hands in the dirt and learn what it takes to produce food for new consumer demands as well as the world's growing population.
To train beginning farmers, to train the next generation. We have a really aging farm population in the United States. About 58 is the average age of a farmer, and so we really need the next set of farmers to continue this wonderful tradition and to produce food for all of us.
That challenge and demand prompts students to enroll at the Farm Academy. The Academy is just one of the programs offered by the Center for Land-Based Learning, promoting connections between agriculture, nature, and society. Teachers and mentors share hands-on learning with farming's newest crop of beginners.
They're also not as deep, dark versus something like this.
I think now's the time, frankly, to have new people come into farming, because not all the farm families we have now have a successor. A lot of them don't know who's going to continue their farm operation. So while we have an increase in population and more people who need our fresh, sustainable food, we need to preserve all of these farms and working lands in the face of additional population pressures and development, we don't necessarily have that cohort of young farmers to take their place.
They're getting really hidden though because they're bushing.
Yeah. The heirlooms are huge though.
Yeah.
Farming is a brand new career for Jason Graff. After years in the classroom as a teacher, Jason is now the student, with a lot to learn about the organic farming practices here.
There is so much to learn about farming, and any farmer who tells you that they know it all, you just gotta kind of smile and say, okay, because things change all the time. The weather changes, crops change, pests change, growing conditions change.
There is a science to 21st century agriculture that these students are eager to learn. Their skills will be tested as farmers are being challenged to produce and deliver quality food while sharing limited resources like land and water. And the biggest challenge of all, dealing with the day-to-day bumps in the field.
If during the California Farm Academy they have a hard time with greenhouse work. It's something that you have to be in at the farm every single day, and it's, you know, say in their future career they might have a farm that's located 12 miles away and they have to get to the greenhouse every day. That might be a challenge, and this gives them an opportunity to practice and to figure out what techniques they like, what tools they prefer, and what it feels like to do it for 8 hours if they need to.
These students will be in this classroom in the country for 9 months, including an intensive program on the business side of farming. Once they graduate, new farmers can lease plots of land at less than typical market rates for up to 3 years. That combination of saving money and providing fresh food is attractive to student Stella Ruiz.
I have a son with Down syndrome, and we just started a taco truck business for him. And I also work with kids in a high crime, high poverty area at a very low performing elementary school, and have helped them start their own restaurant. And so in both enterprises, it's about helping vulnerable populations learn how to run a business, and thought it would be really fun to roll it back to where the food actually comes from.
For Stella, the lessons on this land, in both classroom and fieldwork, deliver insights at a physical and intellectual level.
I feel like I'm a better human being for really being able to appreciate how much goes into farming and how thin the profit is and how much work, and I'm just grateful for everyone who is involved in that.
For the students here, the Farm Academy delivers a certain kind of satisfaction from life-changing experiences.
I thought that this was a perfect opportunity for me to become a farmer. The most satisfying aspect is all the food, and being able to eat fresh food that you pick yourself and bring home. There's nothing like it. So that for me is the big reward, to see the fruits of your labor.
So among my colleagues, it wasn't that they sat in a classroom and said, oh, I want to be a scientist because I read something in a book that seemed interesting.
Mark Winey is the Dean of the College of Biological Sciences at UC Davis. He knows what sparked the passion and curiosity in him and other scientists.
They actually got into a lab or they went out in the field and worked with a scientist to do an experiment or contribute to a research program. And that's when they understood what doing science is like, how fun it can be, how interesting it is, and that they could contribute new scientific knowledge.
Mark's own fascination with science developed because of a personal challenge within his own family.
My interest in biology and genetics in particular grew out of the fact that my youngest sister, Christine, has an inherited disease called galactosemia.
Due to their inability to ingest a milk sugar called galactose, infants with galactosemia fail to thrive immediately in the hospital.
She was struggling as an infant, and so she was referred immediately from a suburban hospital to the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania. And it happened that one of the world's experts in this disease was on faculty at the University of Pennsylvania.
Galactosemia is a rare genetic disorder that can be fatal without early diagnosis and lifelong management.
As a youngster, it was just very intriguing to try to understand how anyone knew what the problem was. Overtly, Christine couldn't have milk, but how anyone connected that to a particular defect in one gene. It was just fascinating to me that anyone could know that and understand how that basic genetics work.
For Mark, it was the start of a lifelong passion into understanding complex living systems.
I've always liked architecture and designing things and building things. What are the parts? How do you put them together? How do you build a complex machine? That's really interesting. Evolution has already built the most complex machines you can imagine.
Mark's lab studies the structures within our cells called centrosomes. These structures play an important role in successful cell division. When cells divide incorrectly, birth abnormalities like Down syndrome and other issues can occur. Tumor cells are also known to have the wrong number of centrosomes or have ones that don't work properly.
One of the arguments for basic science research and for the type of work that we do is that we know a number of large complex machines in cells are broken in tumor cells or in different disease states, but until we understand how the machines are supposed to work, we can't really understand what's gone wrong when the processes are broken.
As important as his research is to the potential advancement of human health, Mark always makes time for his students, helping them grow their own curiosity.
I've always really loved molecular biology and genetics and just thought it's something everybody should know about and maybe be as excited about as I am.
Mark is incredibly knowledgeable about just about everything in the field, so while I have a lot of ideas, Mark helps prune those ideas oftentimes into something that's workable and something that might yield results a lot easier than some of my tangential ideas.
Mark calls this the century of biology. With the advancements in technology, research can now be done at a much faster rate.
The beginning of the century, the human genome was decoded. If yeast has 15 billion base pairs, that was a big deal, and that was decoded in the mid-90s. Human genome, 3 billion base pairs, and now that can be done in a matter of weeks.
So what does all this mean for the future of biology?
We're going to continue to see new technologies come out of the life sciences for healthcare, for agriculture, maybe even for environment modification at some level. Just amazing things that are going to happen. So I want to make sure through supporting the faculty and students in the college that they're involved in that they're contributing to that, and that the students appreciate the importance of biology currently and in the future.
Still ahead, young children talking, reading, and singing their way to success. This next story showcases California's Native American tribes coming together to build connections and honor tradition through the art of basket weaving.
Everything is connected, and that's what makes, string and especially some of these other materials so special, is that it's part of this life cycle, it's part of the earth, it's part of these things that are native to this area just like we are.
Each basket tells a story. Some stories have purpose, some stories have meanings for each individual person. You might be going through a hard time, and so you would just make a basket to help you out of that dark space. I think it's about bringing the people together and being able to share the traditions that have been passed on from generation to generation from our ancestors.
Come back, flat. So you just eyeball it about where it's going to be at.
I've been doing tooling now for about, I'll say 15 years, and what I like from it is talking to the kids about we have a plant that has given its life to us, and we need to treat that life with care, respect it. It's part of our culture. Our kids sometimes will get caught up with the games that they can play on their phones or the TVs. I don't think we're losing it. I think we're just not taking the time to understand it and gather it, and that's what we need to do.
I think today a lot of youth are having a hard time figuring out who they are, what it means to be Indian, or anything like that.
Growing up, we didn't have the luxury of knowing a lot of things traditionally. A lot of them we've learned later. And so the connection was I think it was disconnected just slightly. And it's nice to know that we're making it again, and that hopefully nobody forgets and we don't have any type of other thing that interrupts that knowledge again.
Basketry tells a story of how our people have survived. It's the one thing that remains constant in our culture.
Because for us, everything is connected, especially, speaking as a Native person in general, where, everybody always separates things, but everything is connected. The baskets and the ceremonies and the string and the food and the land and the stories and the animals.
Attention everybody, we had a young lady last year, she did a tule mat and she came back and she did a bigger one. Her name's Sally.
Look at this beautiful piece of artwork that you made. That's special because not everybody can do that, and so we see value in every single thing that's done. You have little kids right now at our gathering and they're making little tule ducks or tule mats, And for us, those are like the most beautiful things ever, because that's what this is all about, is passing on that tradition.
Everybody that makes something is part of this big collective of people that are creative and that can make something out of nothing. Seeking those people out that know how to do it, and and sharing their knowledge, and then and that's the wonderful thing about this is people teaching other people.
So I think that's what we were trying to do, is we're trying to preserve that knowledge and promote it in different ways. It's like the essence of our community, and so it's part of us.
Good guess. There were two little birds in the one little tree. Thank you, Peyton. I'm so lonely, I don't want to be so.
At this preschool in the Placer County town of Rocklin, there's no such thing as a yes or no question. Kids aren't told what to do.
What does it smell like today?
They're part of a conversation to come up with the answer.
So do you think we will be able to count them?
No, there's too much.
There's too many. They asked me, what can I do with this? And I said, what shouldn't we do?
It's one of 7,000 sites across California implementing the First 5 Talk, Read, Sing campaign, aimed at boosting kids' brain power from the very beginning.
What we know about young children is from the day they're born, if someone in a very positive, loving way is talking, reading, and singing to them, that the neurons in their brain are going to connect, and it will just give them the boost they need to really thrive.
What is that?
That's a rhyming word.
Is that a rhyming word?
Yeah.
Which words are the rhyming words? Fox and the box. Okay.
Teachers here focus on reading books together with their 24 students, having conversations with open-ended questions, and singing, sometimes making up their own songs.
Dos pececitos nadaban y nadaban. ¿Qué pasó? They love songs. They love songs. So it doesn't matter sometimes if you're reading a book and they're not interested in, just stop and sing and they just start singing. It doesn't matter what songs and how you sing, they just love to sing.
This teacher says singing in Spanish helps her bilingual students feel more comfortable. But children are so quick to embrace any language and song that the English-speaking children are captivated too.
When I read books in Spanish or sing songs, they just ask me, how do you say this? So it's just exposing children to a different languages, rather than just English.
What can you do with those? You can see me. Am I really, really close? Am I really, really far away?
The Placer County Superintendent of Schools says they've seen firsthand how a focus on talking, reading, and singing can set young kids up for a successful future.
I think it's important that kids and children have access to language, whether that's reading or singing or talking, so that they can build a vocabulary. We have found that children who enter into school with a large vocabulary tend to do better throughout their academic school years.
Everything that he knows and has learned, spelling, letters, colors, everything has come from this program.
Angela Margario has seen other preschool programs in action, and she was so impressed by this one that she now has 2 children, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, enrolled.
I really appreciated the fact that there was a lot of variety in the program and that it was fun for them, but I could tell by the heart of the teachers that they were going to learn, and my children were drawn in. It wasn't just cool for me.
You go into that classroom and it's a print-rich environment. There's opportunity for exploration. They are concentrating on numbers and words and play and dramatic play and sharing. So you're getting all the things you're going to need in order to be successful as you enter school.
It's a program and a way of learning that experts say will benefit them beyond their kindergarten year. It'll set them up for a lifetime of loving to learn.
They will, through these experiences, I believe, be more self-confident, more self-aware, and be able to know the importance, maybe not say talk, read, sing, but they will know that that's important in their life.
Llama, llama, plane, trains, driving trucks, and flying planes. Somebody's at the door. Who is it?
He doesn't want to share with Fuzzy.
He doesn't want to share.
Later, a visit to Goodwill, where their community service programs are changing lives. Today's story from the vault features Off Limits host Jack Gallagher and his 2001 visit to the Culinary Institute of America. That's where Jack dons a chef jacket and hat to learn from the creme de la creme.
I have no cooking experience, none, zero. But I'm standing in the kitchen of one of the premier restaurants in the country about to cook for paying customers. How'd I get here? Believe it or not, the nation's biggest employer after the government is the restaurant industry. With dishes commanding $25 a plate, dipping oils, aiolis, and other accoutrements unheard of just a few generations ago, dining out has become a major form of entertainment. And with the shift has come a whole wave of celebrity chefs. A little bit of butter. So what does it take to hang with the likes of Wolfgang Puck? To find out, we've come to the CIA. That's short for the Culinary Institute of America, where the best and brightest in the business hone their skills for creating cutting-edge cuisine. And then there's me, Mayor McCheese. I'm here to see if I can learn some of their secret recipes, so I can impress the guests at my next big dinner party. Chateaubriand. To get into the continuing education program here, you have to be at the top of your game. Only professional chefs are allowed inside the 15,000 square foot kitchens, where everything looks great and smells delicious. I don't know what the etiquette is as to how close you can get to the pot with your nose. My mother taught us that if you sniff something, you ate it. On the day we arrived, a group of chefs from China were learning bistro cooking as part of a special culinary exchange program.
Want to try?
Sure. And they helped me get started on a deceptively simple task: transforming an average carrot into a more attractive version of itself. And after a lot of peeling, scraping, shaping, I realized I'm not even using the right side of a knife. If it takes me this long to carve a carrot, how unskilled does that make me? They're going to give me a different hat that has a point on it. With the carrots finally under my toque, it's time to get saucy.
But you're looking for light and fluffy is the main thing.
Tony Sakaguchi is teaching her students the basics of hollandaise sauce.
You want to whisk a little bit?
Sure. I mean, how hard can that be? All you need is butter, lemon, butter, eggs, more butter, and oh yeah, wrists of steel. Okay, what happens when my wrist is about to fall off?
Then we give it to someone else.
Okay. I don't know how chefs do this day after day. For me, to make this one sauce, I've got to tag team the whisking. Don't they make mixers for this? Besides knowing how to whisk the heck out of something, all top chefs must learn how to tie one on.
Hold the knot and pull this string and slide that knot into place.
Hey, look at that. Never have you seen a grown man so excited about a knot. After my roast is tied in a neat little package, Bill Briwa has plenty of other tips for me.
Sort of hold your relaxed hand just like this.
Like, how to know if it's done.
Touch your first finger to your thumb and you'll notice it firms up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's rare meat. Touch your middle finger. That's medium. Touch your ring finger. That's medium well. And touch this, and that's well done. So knowing that, go back here and see if you can tell me how that's cooked.
I'm saying that's medium rare.
Good for you. I'm saying that too. And the reason I know is because I
got
put
a
a thermometer in.
And how to make a tasty side dish.
When I first started out in cooking, we had this thought that if you did a really good job, you could kind of look into the pan and see Escoffier sort of smiling up back.
Was this, was that during the 60s?
That's right. That's right.
All starting to make sense to me now, Bill. Now that I've mastered the main course, it's time for dessert. Am I filling the boat the right way?
Yeah, we'll try and get most of it on the inside. So
Robert Joran heads up the Baking and Pastry Arts program. In 1999, his team won the grand prize at the Coupe du Monde, beating the French at their own game. So I'm feeling a little out of my league as he shows me the complicated art of making mousse boats.
Gee, you can't tell the difference between mine and yours, though, can you?
I have to put my glasses on.
No, I don't think you do.
At lunchtime, everyone shows off their dishes.
Look at that.
And makes quick work of shoving down everything they've made. After lunch, with my confidence on the rise, they assign me my first solo task, and it's a very important one.
I just got a call from the restaurant. And they'd like you to come down. There's a couple of things they need you to take care of.
All right.
All right. Catch you later.
All right.
Well, this is it. After 3 hours of training, I'm going to cook at the Institute's world-famous wine spectator restaurant for actual paying customers.
Hey, Todd, they sent me from upstairs. They said you needed some help.
Okay, Jack, start whisking. We're making hollandaise sauce.
Hollandaise sauce, all right.
Keep whisking.
I made that upstairs.
I'll add the butter.
Okay.
Todd Humphreys is the executive chef. That means he's responsible for every plate of food that leaves his kitchen. And he's not about to let an amateur tackle this alone.
Let's pull it back off the heat a little bit, right onto that grill. There we go.
That's kind of warm when you grab that. Do your hands get kind of used to different
I use
temperatures?
a side towel, Jack.
Use one of those.
Yeah.
I wasn't given one of those. Apparently you have to be the chef. Get a towel.
Besides the tricky hollandaise, I've got to make a special lamb dish. And I don't have much time to do it. My customers are getting hungry.
Corey, checking it for the thing. You know, the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's too hot for me to touch, isn't it?
You can go right here. Not too bad.
Medium rare. It's medium hot. It's not too bad.
With the dishes all prepped, it's time to see if they'll pass the test.
Taste that hollandaise and tell me what you think.
Probably the best I ever had. Seems because I don't like it too strong. Nice and mild. Perfect.
Excellent. Todd.
Yeah.
I think they really liked it.
Good.
They're eating it up over there.
Right on.
So I'm jazzed now. We got something else I can do?
Yeah, I got one more really important job for
Really?
you. Let's
Kinda,
go.
Kind of like the next step?
Yeah. Why don't we go do it?
All right.
Okay.
This way?
Yep, this
Yeah.
way.
Goodwill, a noun. By definition, a feeling of approval and support, genuine interest and concern for others. But this goodwill could be a verb, an action, born of loving concern and life-saving focus. Who knew a thrift store could not only repurpose thousands of possessions, but also rebuild people's lives?
If you hadn't found us, what do you think you'd be doing? Not here.
I love that your guys' relationship is so cool. Like, you just, every time I see you together, you guys are always happy, and I can tell that you support each other, and it's something that's really hard to find in the world. So I'm super stoked that you have that. That's cool. Don't ever forget it.
Richard Abruzzi, Asia Jackson, Anthony Galloway, and counselor Monique Osborne are tackling troubles one tier at a time. Less than a year before this gathering of gratitude, Asia and Anthony were homeless and alone. Today, they have jobs, an apartment, and a life together. Richard is the hands-on, open-door policy president and CEO of Goodwill Sacramento Valley and Northern Nevada. Richard is in charge of the region's 36 retail stores, an online platform, and 90 donation centers with more than 2,700 employees. The dollars raised when you shop Goodwill turn into this.
Come here. What are those tears? Tell me about your tears.
Just how far I came and the help and support I had. I felt alone for a long time and that I wasn't going to get a lot of help. And I did.
Asia and Anthony are clients of Wind Youth Services at 8th and S Streets in downtown Sacramento. It's a safe space for homeless youth to find full-service respite, creative care, employment, and independence. Wind is one of 5 regional nonprofits powered by Goodwill, and the dollars raised through the massive network of retail thrift stores, whose bottom line is people, planet, and performance.
Goodwill is really the community, right? We are basically a vehicle in which the community serves the community members that they live and interact with every single day.
It's all about the community because it funds itself.
Right? When you make a purchase at Goodwill, you're not just getting a good deal in a retail store, right? That money's going directly back to the community and services that, for most people, they don't even know exist. When you make a donation or you make a purchase at Goodwill, you really are the vehicle in which we can provide those services back to the community.
And those services are huge. And they're so much more than I knew.
They're life-changing, Rob. I mean, they really are services that without them being in place, people would be on the streets. They would not be reunited with their families. They would have their kids taken away from them. You know, it's not just a retailer, it's really a life changer.
Goodwill is like a family circle who encompass 5 incredibly important family member organizations. Alongside WIND is Next Move Homeless Services. This is the Next Move Complex, providing housing for an entire family under one roof, including meals and direct services like job placement and financial assistance. There's 211 Community Link, a hotline for homeless issues or anyone in need of services. Francis House, a beacon of hope for Sacramento's homeless population in the Riverfront District. And People of Progress, serving the homeless in Reading. So these 5 very large nonprofits are supported by Goodwill, thus you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, if not for Goodwill, they would not be in existence.
I love that. And if it were not for the goodwill of the people in this region.
Right. We often talk about internally, because of Goodwill, because of you, and that you is the community. And so they are the ones that allow for us to do the work. You know, we can build the infrastructure, but without the community support, we're nothing. And so every time somebody visits a store or they donate something at one of our donation sites, they really are putting fuel into that vehicle to allow for this transformation to happen.
Transforming lives is hard work. Goodwill provides job training, employment placement services, and other community-based programs for people who have barriers preventing them from getting jobs or a place to call home. When someone spirals into homelessness, the smallest things can be the biggest hurdles. You can't get a driver's license without an address.
Right.
And you can't get a job without a driver's license.
Right.
There are basics that are fundamental roadblocks that people are denied.
Which is exactly why we have the organizations under our umbrella that we do. You just need somebody to be able to walk you through that process. They're looking at the community and the resources that we have, but they're unsure how to navigate. So I guess I'd answer your question differently. Be a navigator. Be somebody that connects, ask what the need is, and then help them through that process.
Right. That's what I mean by you may not be able to solve it, but you know people that can help.
Yep.
It does take a village.
Oh, it takes more than a village. It really does.
This village provides a staggering amount of support. In 2018, Goodwill helped 350,000 people with 1 million services provided. What drives you, Richard, as someone who leads this organization? What is your personal drive for this?
You know, there's a lot. At the core of why I do what I do, it's because I really do care. Mm-hmm. And I understand that everybody has been dealt a deck of cards that oftentimes they had no say in. And I believe that together we can play a beautiful game of life. And we use our cards interchangeably, and we match where we match, and we trade where we need to trade. Mm. I can wake up every day and know that we're changing the lives of somebody in our community. And our staff is the other driving motivation, right? These folks, oftentimes, they work with really difficult environments and situations, and they come every single day with a smile on their face because they too are committed to making sure that we change the landscape in this community.
And I go back to Anthony and Asia.
Yeah.
They said today, with tears in their eyes of joy,
mm-hmm.
that they would not be where they are today without the blessing of WIND.
Yeah. And I want to make sure we give them their own credit. right? Because we only are as good as the person that wants to help themselves. The client has to be ready to make that change in their life. And when they are, we are going to be there to support them in whatever way possible. We will not let them fail. My grandma, she always asks why. You know, there's always a question to why. It's like kind of that 2-year-old asking their parents why this, why that, why
To
that.
everything.
To everything. And I've been able to let that stick with me and ask our staff why, and question why we do what we do. Is there a way to do it better? Is there a way to do it more efficient? Can we be a better steward of the donors' resources that we have in the community? And oftentimes the why is the Anthony, the Asia, all the clients that we serve, and all of the employees that we employ. We do that because of them, for them. And it goes back to that same because of goodwill. You know, because of goodwill, people have a second chance. Because of goodwill, people have their lives back together. They have their kids with them. They've bought their first house. They've become sober for 10 years. There are so many reasons that Goodwill has been there to support them, and that's my why. And the short answer is just because. It's the right thing to do.
In our segment Excerpt From, we share a part of a longer story with you here, and then you can view the entire story later on our website or on the free PBS video app. Today's story, Sleep Deprived, explores some of the most common sleep disorders that are keeping people from getting a good night's sleep. It looks into treatment options ranging from medication to mindfulness.
I would go to bed, and there were nights I would lay there and lay there and lay there. I got to the point where I hated that clock.
My mind just would not quit. As a matter of fact, it would take any excuse to get busy.
Chronic insomnia can turn us into zombies, moving blurry-eyed through the day and threatening our health.
Heart attacks, diabetes, etc., they're all influenced by lack of sleep.
In this program, we'll look into some of the treatments and techniques to battle insomnia. We'll also explore other sleep disorders like narcolepsy, restless legs, and obstructive sleep apnea.
I woke up in the middle of the night gasping for air.
And a disorder that comes with frightening hallucinations.
You feel like you're going to die, like something's just going to suck you up or kill you.
The latest research and the newest treatments to help us better understand and fight back against the range of disorders that keep too many of us sleep deprived. We spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping, about 25 years in bed. But it wasn't until the last few decades that new light has been shed on just how crucial sleep is to every aspect of our lives.
The purpose of sleep is maintenance work. Your alertness, your memory, your problem-solving skills, your mood, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your hormones, your sex drive, your weight, your food cravings, your immune system, aches and pains, inflammation, pretty much every system in the body depends on this maintenance work being done.
Not getting enough sleep is devastating to your health. Routinely sleeping less than 6 to 7 hours a night wrecks your immune system. It increases your risk for heart disease, obesity, and cancer. Fatigue can also be deadly. Every hour, someone dies of a fatigue-related traffic accident, a fear that Stacy Ryerson harbored for years.
I worried about my falling asleep and all of us dying in a fireball on the freeway. I could have the radio on, the air conditioning, the windows rolled down, and I get to the point where I can feel my eyes starting to bob, and it's like I can't drive anymore.
When Stacy's kids were in elementary school, she often drove from their home in the foothills to visit family in the Bay Area. But she got so tired she had to stop at gas stations to nap along the way. Fearing a car crash, she went to a doctor in the 1990s who diagnosed Stacy with insomnia.
Chronic insomnia causes people to feel tired, fatigued, maybe sleepy. They can't focus. They have no energy. You would think that they would be so tired or sleepy they'd be able to sleep when they go to bed. but it actually doesn't work that way. It's the nighttime comes, and for whatever their underlying process is, they don't sleep.
I hated going to bed at night. That bed was not my friend because I was so aware of the tossing and the turning and watching the time tick away and so desperately wanting to sleep and not being able to.
Stacy's doctor prescribed Doxepin, an antidepressant that's also used for insomnia. Before bed, she makes herself a glass of warm milk and takes her pill, finally winding down with a mellow TV show to quiet her busy mind.
I'm always asleep within about 15 to 30 minutes. I am so appreciative of the doctor that I had that suggested it for me because honestly, I just don't know. I don't know if I would have lived to make it this far.
Dr. Kimberly Harden of UC Davis says that medication is often the last step doctors take to treat insomnia.
Hey guys, how's it going today?
Those medications can be for anxiety or depression, with the side effect of sedation.
You're treating the underlying disorder that's unmasked as insomnia.
Dr. Harden says the first step is to teach people about good sleep hygiene. That means having a cool bedroom between 60 to 67 degrees, regular bedtimes and waking times, even on the weekends, avoiding heavy meals in the evenings, and exposing yourself to natural sunlight as well as darkness each day.
If that doesn't work, then we do other options such as sleep restriction.
Your logic would say that, oh, well, if I can't sleep, let me spend more time in bed. Let me extend that opportunity for sleep. When in fact, the way in which to fix that problem is to actually restrict the sleep.
Dr. Matthew Chow put Sharon Fink on sleep restriction when she suddenly developed insomnia at the age of 75.
I just wouldn't sleep. I'd get in bed and I'd be wide awake and hyper, and it's like I had a full pot of coffee.
On sleep restriction, Sharon wasn't allowed to go to bed until 1 in the morning. The idea is to use your natural sleep drive to get you to sleep faster and deeper. Over time, you slowly revert to a normal bedtime.
It improves slightly, but not enough. And when I went to go see him again for my recheck, he said, Sharon, we have to do something else.
That something else is an emerging trend in sleep medicine. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. Sharon was referred to Dr. Daniel Jin Blum, a psychologist and author in San Francisco who specializes in CBTI therapy, done mostly through telemedicine calls.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you for sending your sleep logs. I got to take a look at those.
Yeah, good. I thought you might be interested in that to see, the improvement.
CBTI is a 6 to 8 week treatment that focuses on the mechanisms of sleep and helps people provide that fundamental understanding of how their sleep-wake mechanisms work, and then give them the tools to change that in a way that allows them to fall asleep quickly and stay asleep. It sounds like on that hyperarousal scale, you're probably at like 4, maybe, between 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing, yeah. And here's the good thing. I had no intention of going in and getting an Ambien. I mean, there was not even a thought in my mind. It didn't matter.
Wow.
So, yeah. When I first started talking to Dr. Blum, he showed me all these tools. My sleep diary, every morning, without fail, I get on there and I record what I've done the previous night, whether I've slept all night or whether I got up 3 or 4 times or whether I didn't sleep at all. And it records the whole thing.
Usually have people do that for at least 1 week, but often 2 weeks to get a good baseline. And this will then inform our treatment. Oftentimes we start with the behavioral interventions like sleep restriction or stimulus control. And as we go along, we'll also start to introduce more cognitive exercises, so ways to work with a mind that just starts to run getting into bedtime or in the middle of the night, being able to move those thoughts in a constructive way towards earlier in the day, and also look at some relaxation and mindfulness strategies.
By the time we had like 3 conversations, I said, well, I know everything that I'm supposed to know, just, I'll keep applying it and see if it helps. And it did. I mean, I feel like a real person again. I have the energy that I was pretending to have before. We have kayaks, and so we kayak. I connect with my friends. Now it's let's go out and do something.
Open up your senses to everything happening in your mind, your body, and our immediate surroundings.
Dr. Amer Khan also uses CBTI techniques at his practice in Roseville called Sehatu Sleep. Every day he offers this 30-minute guided meditation session to his patients.
When I got into sleep medicine, my focus was on finding out how I can best help them without making them dependent on these medicines. The medical profession has become more and more aware of how sleeping pills of different kinds, whether they're over-the-counter or prescription, how they affect people in the long run. Problems like memory issues and early onset of dementia. So another way of handling the problem is, why don't we help you learn how to calm your mind down, relax, and be able to go to sleep? Watching peaceful waves coming to the shore.
To watch the full story, go to kvie.org/Sunday Stories or download the free PBS video app. I'm Michael Sanford. It's been a pleasure being part of your Sunday. We hope you've enjoyed today's stories and that you'll be back next week for another episode of Sunday Stories. Until then, have a great week.